Hi, friends. Now, I love this lesson because this is actually something that your students are doing. It is helping to develop mental math skills, which are great to have in your adult life to be able to mentally finagle around with numbers. In this, we started out, we looked at in the student video this problem where we had 129 students in the cafeteria and 232 came later. So we're adding those two numbers to find out the students in the cafeteria. And then we're subtracting 197 to find out how many more students are in the cafeteria than in the library. Now, adjusting these equations. So we can adjust addition equations and we can adjust subtraction equations in order to make them easier to work with and easier to solve mentally. Now, the way that we adjust them, though, are not the same because addition is not the same as subtraction. So with addition, we're adding these two numbers together, we're putting them all together. So with addition, if we've got our two add-ins, if we add a number to one, we have to take a number away from the other add-in. Now, we go much deeper in this in the student video, so if you want to check that out. But your base 10 blocks at home, if you have physical base 10 blocks, if not, this Polypad app is phenomenal for helping students visually see why you're subtracting from one, adding to the other one, and we still have the same total number. So we started out by looking at how this represents right now, as it is, it represents 129 plus 232. Well, 130 would be a lot easier to work with than 139. So we can take one away from 232. We take one away from 232. We add it to 129. Now, when we merge these, we end up with 230. So that's just a great visual way to show how we're adding to one, we're subtracting from the other. It does not change our total number. Okay, so that's what we did here. So then 130 plus 231 is a lot easier to work with. We don't have to use the standard algorithm and do all of the regrouping. Now, subtraction. Subtraction is different. So one thing that you can help your students with is one way that we can define subtraction is that it is the distance between two numbers on a number line. So reinforcing that definition will help your students visualize why we add or subtract the same number from both. So in addition, we add to one, subtract from the other because we got to keep that total amount the same. Subtraction, you're looking at the distance. Two numbers are apart on the number line. So if we add something to one, we got to add it to the other. Or if we subtract something from one, we have to subtract it from another because we got to keep that distance the same. That's subtraction. So like when we were looking at this one, we said, okay, well, we've got 197, 361. We have that distance. Well, if we added 3 to 197 and we added 3 to 264, we still have the same distance. And so that's much easier to work with because now I can just mentally subtract that. I don't have to, if I subtract these, I've got to use the algorithm. I'm going to have to do some regrouping. So that's what we're trying to do is just help students to practice with the algorithm. Now, I will say that if you're working these problems with your students, try some different numbers. There's not just one way to do this. We looked at this one and how we could add 1 to 229, subtract 1 to 3 from 315, and make that 230 plus 314. It's not the only way. We could say, well, I want to work with 300, so I'm going to subtract 15 here. Well, I have to add 15 here. It works, and we get the same sum, but it was not as easy as this one. So try some different numbers and have those discussions. Well, which way was the easiest? Just like down here, we looked at this one. Easiest way to me was just adding 2 to 98 to get 100 and then adding 2 to 317 and then we get 219. Well, we could have said, well, I want to work with 300. Well, then that we subtracted 17 and then we subtract 17 here. That's not very easy to work with. So that's what they're working towards, is finding that easier way to adjust them. just keep in mind as you're working with your students that when we are, or your children, your nieces, nephews, your neighbors' kids, whoever, you might be the math person in the neighborhood that helps everyone. Keep in mind the main thing we're focusing on is when we add two numbers, we got a total amount there. And so if we add a few or if we add some to one number, we got to take it away from the other number. So we still have that same total. Whereas with subtraction, looking at the distance apart two numbers are. So we either add the same number to both or we subtract the same number from both. All right, I hope that helps. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. We'll see you in the next one.